Welcome to another episode of Soulmate podcast. I think this is episode 9. I think, but don't quote me on that. Look in the podcast notes. But today we are welcoming very special guest Georg Jansen, who is playing Caleb in the latest iteration of Soulmate. Latest iteration being our June extension in New York City, Off-Broadway. And welcome, Georg.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, it's so good to have you.
Yes.
And so as we do on all these podcasts, what we generally like to do is just kind of talk about anything about the process, about each other, meeting each other, anything about the play itself, and usually it grows pretty organically from there. And I want to start by saying that Georg actually came to us initially in New York. We met him the very first time we met anyone here in New York, and that was during the initial auditions in that must have been then April 2nd, I think.
I think so, yeah. Somewhere around that time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And funny story about that is that the moment that Shannon and I saw him, we felt very strongly about him right away. Felt that he was very strong, and had him come for a callback. And he didn't quite make the first run, but the moment that we needed our male lead for our second run, Shannon right away said, "Hey, what about Georg?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" So it was really amazing because we called him and he and I talked, and just right away the vibe was so good. I feel like there's a very important thing that's happened with every iteration of Soulmate, where it's like every time we grow into the cast and the characters that we are meant to have at that time, meaning that the character of Caleb and everything that we had done up to this point was almost like getting us ready for Georg and what he came to contribute, and hopefully vice versa as well. And so Georg, anything about the process of that audition and getting
absolutely.
The call and
So do you prefer me talking to the camera?
Yeah, it's a little bit, but you can look at us too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like we do on stage, right?
Okay.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Well, I think first thing that really resonates with me with what you said was that we had that first conversation, and I felt right away like we were vibing, like we clicked, and I think that's also what I've said to Leo and Sean and everyone on the cast is, no matter what work you do, no matter what job you do, even if it's not acting related at all, it just really, the most important thing is if you get along with the people there. And I was really inspired, honestly, by your kind of commitment to this whole thing, both of you, and everything that you've put in it, and how transparent you were about the sacrifices that you've made. And so it was pretty much like, I have to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have a choice. Like, I have to do this. Not that I didn't want to. Obviously, I wanted to, but it's like more than that. It felt like serendipitous in a way. It's like, okay, this is what I have to do now. And ever since then, it's been a great experience.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Anything about kind of like your first impressions and then that process of bringing him back, bringing him on?
Oh, yes. Okay, so, the first time that we saw Georg, I was like, wow, he's really great, which is actually a funny story that I think you should tell about. It was like the monologue, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I had told them, like, after that the original auditions for Caleb, where you have to present a 20-second monologue. Now, 20 seconds, for those that don't know, it's really not a lot. It might sound like a lot, but it's basically 3 sentences. And, yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, I've never done this before, but I'll do it. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, of course, yes.
I was like, yeah, and then I found something that was good, which was the hardest part was finding something right, because you want to, choose a piece that kind of conveys something in 20 seconds at least, or has some sort of arc or rise or something. So I found something, and I had rehearsed it, but I, to be very honest, didn't prepare it that much because I thought it's 3 sentences. Literally, it was 3 sentences, or 4 maybe, 3.5. And so I get to the auditions, and the way that they had done the audition format, I don't know if you guys have talked about it already on the podcast.
A little bit,
but,
during last
so it's
one,
like people in line, right, and people come up, and so you're doing your audition not just in front of Doug and Shannon, but also in front of a lot of other actors. And I think it took a lot of people aback a little bit, but in a good way, So, you know, the nerves were there and I was first to go and I just completely blank on my lines. And I remember the gist of what the 20-second monologue was about, but I basically improv the entire thing. And
So good.
yeah, and I count in my head the sentences that I say because I know 3 or 4 sentences is 20 seconds and I stop myself and I go back and I think to myself, wow, either that was awesome or that was terrible. But then I walk down from the stage after everyone had done their monologue and I see Doug look at me like with a big smile and he was like, that was great. I was like, okay.
Nice.
I was like, okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I'm gonna tell another little story that I haven't told too, which is funny because I had asked Jackie, who's in their cast as well, and then who else was I think Lee. We're checking people in, right? And we gave them like a little hint. We're like, hey, if someone seems like really cool, like put like a star on the little thing, you know?
Okay.
And if someone sees like there's something wrong with them or something, do like another mark or whatever. Now the thing is that like I couldn't really distinguish the 2 marks. And so I remember that when I after you guys left, I like look over and I'm like, oh my god, George was awesome. And I looked at his thing and I'm like, oh, wait, is this like the bad mark?
That's so funny.
And I actually thought, oh no, what's wrong with George?
Like,
Yeah.
And so that was like weighing on my mind. I'm like, oh no, maybe he did something terrible in the
God.
check-in room. And then later on, it's funny because I asked Jackie, I'm like, was this a good mark? She's like, that's a good mark. And she's like, I love him. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank goodness, we love him too. And so
Nice.
but we gotta be more. I gotta be more
Specific with the
careful and
marks.
specific
Yeah.
about the marks. I wasn't too specific. I was specific about what the good one was, not the bad one was.
That's funny.
And of course, as you're like doing it quickly, you know. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a big relief.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a new story.
That's a new one for
You're
you.
saving that. For
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So something else that I was going to say about that was really amazing about George coming on is that we had an interesting experience, Shannon and I, and you could add to this as well, where, you know, we aren't, as I mentioned before, we're not like entrenched theater people or actors, or, you know, even though I've done a ton of acting at this point, it's only been over the last, you know, year and a half. This is Shannon's first time in theater, first time acting. So we're not used to the as much like the jumping from project to project, doing multiple projects, you know, jumping from character to character. I mean, I am a little bit, but I would say I think I had the benefit of doing most of my acting in the same theater company. So for the most part, it was the same room, the same environment. I only had a couple different projects that were outside of that. But even those, for example, like I mentioned, bringing Sunny in from a completely different project. But that's what I'm getting at is that like Shannon and I have like we get kind of attached to the forming these relationships with the actors, because I mean we're doing this play that's very vulnerable and it's very real to us. I mean, it's very much a reflection of our own lives. It's a very authentic expression of that, and it's funny because I think that, I don't know if it was us, and George, you could tell us, but I mean maybe at the time too, just because the Caleb character is so important, it's so pivotal, it's so personal to me, it's so, you know, intimate with Shannon. It's like we were kind of like probably like, hey, like we really want you to like be involved, be vulnerable, you know, like and we just started opening up right away, and that's the thing is that George did as well. I don't know if like we did first or you did first or whatever it is, but all I'm saying is that at the moment, I don't know, I mean you could speak on this too, but it felt so good and it's so right, because we're like, oh, we can be with this person and yeah, like you could be present with us the way that we want our Caleb to be present
and
with
like
us.
talk candidly. I feel like everyone could just, you know, be themselves. Yeah.
But I feel like it happened like right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm always for like being myself and being very, very vulnerable with people like right away if I can.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times that it makes people uncomfortable, or it can make people uncomfortable, and it can make them just also. If they're not used to that, I feel like sometimes it can even scare them in a way where it's like, what are this person's intentions, right? And so as much as I would love to do that with everyone, I understand that that's not possible, and I respect that, you know. But I think it was you first, you know, basically talking about your past, especially your recent history, you know, and everything that kind of led to the play. And so I don't think it was very consciously, but in my head I was like, oh, okay, easy. I can be vulnerable around this person. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty confident they will not take it in a bad way. And the same with Shannon. You know, you had been you talked about who you've been before all of this, and I mean, it's funny because we haven't known each other that long, but it's like every time Gracie, my girlfriend, she asks me about you guys, I feel like I can say so much, you know what I mean? Like, so Shannon used to do this, and then she lived here, you know what I mean? And she traveled around, and she's also done this, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I really know a lot about you guys, and I feel like most of that I learned in that first conversation, honestly. Yeah.
How did it feel for you, Shannon, overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general it felt so like kismet, like everything was like meant to be. It felt really, really easy with George. Like, I think during the first audition process, I also really liked George too, and so did Doug, of course. And yeah, I'm glad that it was just so fresh in my mind also that I was like, let's just call him back and like see if he's doing anything. And I'm so glad that
That's
I
nice.
I'm so glad that I thought
I'm really
of that.
glad,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been an awesome experience, and it's kind of one thing that just is popping in my mind now as we're talking about this. I feel like one of the good things about me as an actor is I don't get nervous. I'm actually someone who does not perform well under pressure, but when it comes to a lot of like situations where I feel like it actually matters, I don't feel pressure. But with this play, in a weird way, and I don't think it's made my performance worse or anything, but in a weird way I do. I get nervous every time before getting up on stage, but not in this like anxiety way of like, oh my god, I hope I don't fuck it up, but more in this like, this really matters kind of way, you know what I mean? And that's something I've been noticing more and more, because even with things that I do get nervous about, I feel like it goes away quickly because I just rationalize and I compartmentalize quickly in my head, you know? Yeah, but with this play, it's like, you know, there's that moment where Shannon and I are in the sheet and we're just there, and we're just like kind of breathing together, and we're just kind of like, it's just like it's like feels like an eternity almost, you know what I mean? And it's like you just kind of calm yourself, and then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Soulmate, and we're like doing the crab walk on stage.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah.
That's really sweet to say, actually, because I think that that's part of this too, and maybe that's what I was also even alluding to, is that it is like very real for us, you know? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I guess some plays are just written and they're supposed to be entertaining, and I mean, it's funny, and people keep asking me or something, it's like, what are you going to write next? Are you going to write a bunch of stuff next? And to me, it's like, well, I mean, I want to maybe expand on this, but it's like, I think what I've come back to is that, but this is real. This is our lives. This is our deepest, you know, personalities and experiences and desires and pain. Mostly the pain. And so I think that's, I mean, that it makes me happy to hear that that's what you feel, you know, coming into it, because that means that you're taking it as it's intended, I guess. But yeah, like, and I think that others feel that in the cast as well, but I think that what's most important is that, like, that's what the audience ultimately feels. And yeah, I mean, I still get, my favorite part of the night still, and I still wish you guys could be out there faster to see some of it, is just, yeah, some of the people that are just feeling a lot at the end of the play. What I've started to do is capture a lot of notes. Like I have a little guest book and stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah. And I want to make sure, I was just before I forget, because you got to remind me.
Yeah.
Like at the end, I should make sure that everyone, like I'll send pictures of all the pages to everyone. So
Yeah,
can read
cool.
that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to tell you, Gracie said that she actually, and I've heard you've received positive feedback from that.
Yeah.
But that she loves that you do the intro in the beginning of the show.
Really? Okay. Good.
Yeah, and I was like, did you tell Doug? And she's like, no, I should have. I'm like, well, I'll tell him.
Okay. Yeah, that's something else that happened too, is that, well, okay, let's put it this way. There was a lot of things, I mean, this is obvious, but if we were going to do this all again, you know, I would have done things a lot differently, a bunch of things, but, you know, coming into it so fast, even coming into it fast, you know, maybe wouldn't have done as well. But the fact of the matter is that like we did what we did, and honestly, I'm very happy for it because I mean, it brought us here, and I don't know where we would have been if we didn't. But yeah, one of the things I was told in that is that, you know, Off-Broadway or in New York, you don't do intros to your plays.
Really?
Yeah. And because I had in LA, it just seemed appropriate.
Who told you that?
A few different people. Yeah, like and so I listened because I want to, you know, do things the right way. But what I discovered is it's funny because, okay, so the reason why I didn't intro to start is because, you know, we needed to delay a little bit. There was a little bit of a costume malfunction. And so I'm like, go up there and kill some time. So I had to go up there and then start speaking. And, but then, yeah, the result seemed a lot better. And so now I'm introducing the play again, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just works for this play. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about it. It makes sense. Yeah, maybe New York Off-Broadway, you don't do that just because Off-Broadway, I feel like in this city is a lot like fast food. You know, people want to get in, consume, get out, almost in a way. Not everyone, obviously.
Sure.
But, and so they don't want the whole, you know, like, waiter coming up to you, this is our restaurant, this is where we come from. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. But I think for this, it just works because it's short, but it's very compact. There's a lot in it. And it leaves people wondering, it leaves things open to interpretation, you know?
Exactly.
And I feel like people really like hearing you talk about it, honestly. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so yeah, I'll be doing that for the last 3 shows here. We have 3 more performances. By the time this podcast probably comes out, I'll probably be all done. But, yeah, exactly. But it's good because we're also using these to kind of like bridge up until the next thing we do. Yeah, Shannon, is there? I want to ask, is there? What's unique about your experience with George? Just because, you know, now you've had a few different experiences in different stages with different Calebs. Like, I just wonder if there's something that's distinctive as far as performing goes.
Yes, I do think there is something very distinctive. I think that George is very open and just very willing to kind of improve, and it seems that way, at least to me, because it feels to me almost like every single performance we've done better and better. And I'm really just like following his lead when it comes to it. Like I tend to follow Caleb's lead, so if he's like more serious, then I'm like, okay, more serious. And I just think that George's like empathy and vulnerability and openness in the show, as well as just like doing better in performing, and always asking Doug like you know, if he has any notes.
Which you shouldn't do actually as an actor.
Yes, you should. I'm into it.
But thank you. Yeah, and I mean it's the same. You know, I've it's a lot of pressure when you and I, like 2 people, have to carry a play. And I feel like you take it so easily, and it's probably has to do a lot with the fact that you've also just done it for like it's your 4th show, right? But at the same time, it's just I feel very much like I can rely on you when I'm up there, and I feel very much like whatever happens, like Shannon will be okay, and that's great. And that's a great, just like, you know, trust to have in your partner. So
Yeah.
Also, I was going to say, the to comment on that, it is interesting. I mean, the chemistry that these 2 characters have is so important, and in different scenes, different things are revealed about their relationship. Different, I'd say, power dynamics, different vulnerabilities, and you know, different moments of romance and memory and love. I have to say that, you know, you guys, you do take good care of each other up there, and that's really important, and it comes across. Meaning that my biggest thing, it's funny, one of my biggest things, and it reminds me very quickly. When we were first out here, we were invited to an acting class, and it's the video is up on YouTube actually of our panel after that. But during that class, we were asked to comment on different acting performances and scenes. And something that I'm very sensitive to, even though I'm a very new director, but I'm sensitive to this anyway, just watching a performance, is when someone is too involved in their own performance and their own self, and they're not like listening to the other person, they're not present with the other person. It's something that is it really takes you out of the moment as an audience member. It doesn't make it as believable. It's like, you're just watching two people say their lines, at each other.
Yes.
I feel like, for Shannon, that's where I think that your inexperience is almost helpful, because it's a real situation for you, you know, and that's really important. But then George, the way that you guys tune into each other, and like you said, George, is that or like you said, Shannon, I'm sorry, is that whatever George is leading with, then that takes you there. I think that's why, it means because you are tuned into each other. And so it makes sense that almost like whoever has the first word, it sets the tone, and then but it's just such a pleasure to watch. I don't know if a lot of directors are like this, but I like to watch every performance, simply because I enjoy it so much, because there are these infinitely small variations in every performance. But I also direct in a way where I want everyone to channel how they're organically feeling, and use it, right? And that's where I think that because I'd rather have an authentic performance than anything, right? So I don't know, do you feel, actually for you, Shannon, because you have done it so many times, do you feel there's a range, take any given scene, is there a whole range of ways that you can play it? And what does it depend on,
I think so. I think so. There are some very emotional scenes in the play, for those of you who haven't seen it. And I think that it can really vary sometimes based on the way that you're feeling that day. I think that there have been certain days where I've been more moody or extra angry, and it's I can really take that out on the stage. And I think that's something that I did in the last performance that a lot of people did notice and commented on. And even George, when we got backstage, he was like, that felt really real. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. It's also just great when it's different, right?
Yeah. It's another challenge, right?
Yeah. No, and it's just it's so much, exactly what you were talking about, right? That becomes harder and harder the more you rehearse, because because you get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
And so that kind of let's say, you are not really in the moment, you're not really listening the way you should, right? And someone does something unexpected, it forces you in. You know what I mean? And so that's great, because you react naturally, because it's happening for the first time.
Yeah. Actually, that does end up being kind of the only note I give once we're deep in it. Obviously, everyone's got their parts down. It's it's not much to say as a director. But what can happen though is that where everyone kind of gets used to just doing the lines, and that's where I try to jump in and say hey, reground yourself, slow down, feel it again. It's almost refresh and then refeel, and then usually that's all it takes to kind of remind you guys of that, and then it kind of resets, and it just suddenly it just feels so real again. Yeah. So
what I like to do is I like to do the lines with someone different. Because you automatically, I think, talk to other people differently, right? Shannon, you and I have established this relationship that we have, and then we've also established this Caleb's and Cyrene relationship that's unique. And because of that, the way that I do those lines with you is going to be different than the way I do those lines with Jackie, or with my girlfriend, or with my friend. You know what I mean? And so doing it one time, and it doesn't even have to be acted out, just reading the lines to each other. I feel that really helps me to just reset a little bit. Yeah.
So George, I also wanted to ask you about kind of the experience, because as Caleb, it's Caleb's the only one in the whole play, I'm gonna think this through, who interacts with everyone. You interact with every character. Yeah. You're the only one. They some characters interact with some, and yeah. So in that, or you interact with every actor at least. In that, what is that like, especially in this play when you're dealing with such crazy archetypes, and Is that, just give me kind of like some of your impression of
Honestly,
that.
I feel it's very easy because when you have these characters that are, you know, these crazy archetypes, the scenes are meant to be their moments. Their moments to not only show who they are, the moments not only, you know, to show that, you know, on the superficially they're obviously not the right person for Caleb, right? But also the text as he wrote it, it portrays it gives a message, right? Every character gives a different message, right? And so I mean, Tiara, Willow, you know, even Chloe, they all bring to the table a different side or a different generation or a different perspective on what romance is. So that makes it really easy for me because the scene is about them, not about me. You know, I'm really just there to be that canvas on which they paint their stuff.
That's cool. That's a cool way of looking at it.
Yeah, and so and that it's honestly great for me because I think it would be a lot more difficult if I felt that pressure of having to carry or having to carry every scene. You know what I mean? And I really don't. I mean, if I think about it, like where I really feel like, okay, this scene is something where I am very responsible for portraying the story that you want to put out there. I would say it's the last two scenes, you know, where I carry maybe the majority of that responsibility. Right. All other scenes, it's really not me who's carrying that majority responsibility. It's either shared amongst everyone, or in those date scenes, it's majority that person. Which is why it's so amazing to work with people like Nicolette and like Sunny and like Avery, you know, who just, I mean, it's like, it feels so easy. You're just there and you're just going off of what they're doing, and they're doing their stuff amazingly, and
cool. Does it I don't know, just on a silly note, like, I mean, have you been on any dates that were crazy like that?
You know, and it's so funny because I did this audition where the audition was actually talking about crazy date stories, and so that's why I like so this is not this is actually a crazy breakup story. It's not a crazy date story.
I got some of those too.
It's just the first it's just the first thing that came to mind. But I was dating this girl, and we were only like 3 months in, and I don't want to put too much of her stuff out there, so I'm thinking of how to say this, but because of her cultural background, 3 months was a very serious thing.
Got it.
And even though I liked her very much, I realized I don't really have strong feelings for this girl. So we broke up, or I broke up with her, and I was very, very, very bad at breaking up. Just because honestly I didn't really have a reason other than, hey, I'm moving away, and also I don't really have feelings for you. Now I was a little bit
couldn't just stick with moving away?
Well, I was about to say, I was a little bit of a chicken, so I didn't really emphasize the I don't have feelings for you part. And also, of course, she was like, we can make it work, we can make it work. And my dumbass thought it would be smart to basically mansplain to her about like what she can do to move on, you know what I mean, from me.
Oh man.
And I think I quickly realized what I was doing, because that wasn't my intention. My intention was to make her feel better, and I really just didn't know how to do that. And I quickly realized that's what I was doing, and so I stopped. But she went crazy. We were in the middle of the cafe, and she was getting up, she was yelling, she was like about to throw stuff, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just that like she was acting crazy, she was saying like, I can show you the side of me, I can like that kind of, you know what I mean? And I was just like,
oh no.
Yeah. But we ended on okay terms. Okay. Yeah. And I say okay,
like she didn't kill you.
No, she did not.
Oh wow. My gosh.
So in that case, were you the crazy one there, or you're the no?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I guess we both were a little bit. Yeah.
It's just the Aquarius in him. It just pulls the crazy out of people. It does.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's funny because yes, obviously, like the whole idea came out of experience of crazy dates. But you know what's funny is I feel like they were more, for me, it's like a little bit more imagined. I think that I'd had I definitely had crazy dates. I think I was the crazy one though. I mean, meaning like I would do crazy things. Like, like for a while, like I was the craziest in my 30s. And I mean, I did stuff like, I mean, I've talked about this, not on the podcast before, but something where like for a first date, it's like I was living in LA. I'm like, let's fly to New York and go to lunch at Peter Luger's. I did that once for a first date.
That's crazy.
And then like, yeah, like, so just booked it for another first date. It's like the date was like, oh, I got to like drive cross country. I'm like, let's do that as a first date. So we drove cross country in her car. That one didn't end well though. I had to leave her at Salt Lake City Airport. And asleep in the back, yeah, because she was. Anyway, that was that didn't end well. She was very upset about that. But in any case, well, what happened was that she lacked any kind of like just empathy towards like anyone, including myself. But I mean, it was the kind of thing where like she'd like yell at people working at restaurants and stuff.
Oh my God.
Just such like a turnoff, you know?
Oh my
God,
That's a
yeah.
horrible person.
That's why you don't drive cross country
And
on
so-
the first date.
Exactly. But what had happened was that I had got a speeding ticket in Utah, and she was asleep in the back, and she was more freaked out and upset that maybe she would get in trouble somehow because it was her car or something. And I'm like, no, I got the speeding ticket. And so like after she was like super mad at me for possibly doing something that could have gotten her in trouble, and I convinced her that it's fine, I was the one that was going to suffer, you know. Then she was like, oh, good. And then like knocked out again. I'm like, oh, that's it.
That's, yeah.
So I drove myself to the airport, let myself out. And like, you
Yeah.
can take it the rest of the way. I mean, it was LA. She, you know, and I was,
She was
but
fine.
yeah, well, she said she couldn't drive at night. And I'm like, well, it's fine. You can find somewhere to sleep.
Sleep,
for-
of course. Yeah, she'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's really funny. Okay. The funniest part about that story is that was it that one? Oh no, maybe it wasn't that one. Okay, I think it was another one. There's another one where like I had a very bad end with someone, but then we like matched again. I'm trying to think if it was her or this other person that was in LA.
You matched again. You're
Yeah.
like, this psycho bitch, let me just swipe her.
No, but the funny thing is when you match again and they're like, oh, like you're cute or whatever, and I'm like, do you remember me? And
Yeah.
they're like, what? And they're like, well, do you want to go out? I'm like, no, do you remember me? Like, what is happening? And eventually it's just like,
before. No, wait, what?
yeah, exactly. Anyway, too many crazy stories. Actually, you know what I should do is I should probably write I always thought I should write a book of just all the crazy
yeah.
stories. I mean, they are date relationship related, but they're not like this play. They're not like, you know, just match with someone crazy, have a first crazy experience. It's more like just situationally stuff. Anyway, okay.
I feel like my story is nothing near crazy now. That you're like, oh, she yelled at me, big deal. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, that's
stories.
standard for me. Yeah, that's
I
nothing
don't think
new.
people usually yell at you.
Yeah, well. Let's see. I don't know. We got like maybe about 5 minutes. You want to like anything else you want to say about just this experience, or I don't know. I know that this is kind of your first time doing theater in this context,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
How do you feel about that versus TV and film, and what's your sense about going forward? Meaning, do you want to do more theater? Do you want
So here's the thing. There's also like, you know, documentation stuff for me that I need to worry about at the end of this year, right? And so
yeah.
simply because of that, I think I do want to focus more on camera and TV, and that is where I see my future. However, I think everyone agrees. No, that's not true. I think a lot of people agree. The art started with theater, you know, and the art really, the craft really comes from theater. And I notice it when I do theater, and I've always noticed it when I do theater, that the rehearsal process, the intimacy on stage, the vulnerability of the audience being right there, it brings something out of actors that is just different from TV.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think TV is still evolving, film is still evolving, even acting on film is evolving. The type of movies that are being made nowadays, especially with A24 kind of making more and more, are very like mimicking life, you know, kind of movies, which I love. I love that. And so I think ultimately that is still where I see myself. However, I would love to do more theater. And if I get the chance to do something like this again, I'll take it. But, you know, it's funny because I've talked to a lot of the other casts, and they mostly do theater. And their experience has been that most of the time the productions you're on are not that great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
because of the show itself, but because people do things that they're maybe not supposed to, and people not straightforward about certain things, you know, and it's like, and I can tell that it gets to them because they become extremely sensitive about things, you know, like someone asking, and not them particularly, but people in general, you know, then you ask them, hey, can you do this? And it's like in their head, it's like, well, I'm not a PA, that's not my job. Am I getting paid for that? Which I get where that thinking comes from, because it is fair. You know, you're only getting paid a certain amount for a job that you're doing. And then someone asks you, but I think ultimately, just like filmmaking, if you're all in it together, if you're, you know, really trying to make something come to life, who cares what is whose job? You know what I mean? I mean, unless, you know, the director is asking you to, you know, go to court for, I don't know, you know, something ridiculous. And that's kind of how it is on film, and honestly, that's how I've also met some of the people that I've worked then again with, is the people that have called me, is the people we're on set, we're all working together. We're carrying equipment around, we're making sure everyone gets everywhere, you know, like, so it scares me a little, to be honest, to do more theater, because if that's the experience, you know, if it is a little hostile in that way, or it can be, I guess, but it doesn't scare me enough not to do it, I guess.
I mean, I would say to that is that, like, I mean, what I'd hope to do is, and I've said this before too, is to try to create the environments that we want to be in. You know? And so, you know, in that sense, we try to do that with Soulmate, and just do everything in our power to demonstrate and live, you know, the world that we want to be in. And art's a great place to do that. And that's where we can probably wrap with this too, is that, like, Shannon and I mean, I can, you know, you could speak for yourself, but I mean, I feel very grateful for, like, the people that have been involved, for how vulnerable you all have been with us. I don't know anything else to add about.
I mean, same. I think I haven't been a part of any other, like, theater production experiences, or really many film production experiences either, but I think that I'm extremely grateful for just everyone who has been involved, because it's like so many of us, of course, doing our own things, you know, we have different things to do outside of this project, outside of the art that we're making. So many of us have different jobs and things like that, but I think that, like, when the time comes for us to all come together, like, everyone is so present, everyone is so helpful. I'm just so grateful for this whole team that Doug and I have built.
And
here.
you guys, I mean, again, I haven't done that much theater, but I've been in the industry for a little bit now as well, and you guys are really lucky. I mean, everyone is just awesome. Like, seriously, it's kind of shocking that there's not, like, an outlier, you know, like one person that, like, people maybe
even though
don't
we've
get
had
along
people
with
kind of come in and out too. I mean, exactly. Okay, so we can kind of wrap up here. I think our call time is starting, and so, you know, we're all gonna get going with our performance tonight. It's the Sunday's June 22nd performance, and thank you so much, George, for
thank you guys for
the time.
Of course.
All right, so we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.